Okay, we're going to start off with lines. So the first thing with lines, you need to know slope formula. Which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. M is a slope, b is the y-intercept. Next, to find the x and y intercepts, to find the x-intercept, plug in 0 for y. To find the y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. You need to know how to write an equation when you're given a slope and a point. You can either use y equals mx plus b and solve for b, or you can use the point slope form y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. These formulas will not be given to you though, so you need to know them. You need to know the equation for a horizontal line and a vertical line. So a horizontal line is going to be y equals a constant. I'm going to use b as the constant. A vertical line is going to be x equals the constant. I'm just going to use a as the constant. You need to know the shapes of all the parent functions and what they all look like. I'm going to do just the quadratic here, but you need to know what they look like as the equation and what they look like as a graph. So for the h, all of the h's will shift the parent function horizontally. And I always told you it's inside with the x, it shifts in the x direction, horizontally. But remember, you use the opposite sign that's there. The k shifts it vertically. And you don't use the opposite sign of that. I'm not going to write all the equations. I'm not going to write the graphs. You have all that in the foldable. Okay. We have A that either stretches it or compresses. It stretches it when the absolute value of A is greater than 1. It compresses it when the absolute value of A is between 0 and 1. If the A is 1, then it's the same exact shape as the parent function. When you have a negative A, it reflects it across the x-axis. And if the x is negative inside of the parentheses or whatever is in that function, if the x is negative, then it reflects it across the y-axis. For domain and range, you need to know the domain and range of all the parent functions, and it will definitely help. So study those from the foldable. The domain is the x values of the graph, the range is the y values of the graph. If the domain or range is all real numbers from negative infinity to infinity, then it will stay all real numbers. When it's shifted. If it's not all real numbers, then it shifts with the h and the k. Okay, for the function operations, when you're adding, you just add the functions and combine like terms. When you're subtracting, the same thing, except you have to subtract, but don't forget to distribute the negative. Multiplying, you just multiply. Make sure if it's binomial times a binomial, you FOIL correctly, or if something's squared, you FOIL correctly. And remember that x times x squared is equal to x cubed. When you're dividing, one divided by the other one, don't forget your restrictions. With f of g of x, could be written either way. You're plugging the g function into the f function. Any x, you plug in the g. G of f is written this way. Either way, you plug f of x into g of x. I don't know where it stopped recording, so I'll say this part again. If you have a constant in for x, you plug, like for this example, f of g of 3, you plug the 3 into the g, and then you get that answer and plug that into the f of x function. So you plug the 3 into the g like that, and then get an answer, plug it into f. You could also do it the same way you did the other ones. Find f of g of x, simplify it, and then plug in the 3. Either way will work. To tell if a relation is a function, they can have no x's, x values that are the same. You can also do the vertical line test if it's a graph. To tell whether it's 1-to-1, it must be a function because it has to pass the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. So if you're looking at points, no x's can be the same, and no y's can be the same. To find the inverse of a function, switch the x and y, and then solve for y. To verify that they're inverses, if you're using f of x and g of x, if they're inverses, then f of g of x will equal x, and g of f of x will equal x. If one doesn't work, the other one won't work. So they both will be equal to x if they are inverses. That's it. Study these and prepare yourself as much as possible for the test. Okay, I'll give you a joke. What do you get when you mix a bird with a blender? Shredded tweet.